Hello, this is Bob Gray Sr. Welcome to Ministry Moments. And guess what, boys and girls? I'm in Florida. So at 4 o'clock Eastern Time every Friday, we'll come with Ministry Moments, and I hope that you'll go to YouTube, Ministry Moments YouTube, Bob Gray Sr., and subscribe. I'd like to hit that 500 mark if we could, so I hope that you'll do that. Very practical, just several valid points for the ministry, whether you're a bus captain, whether you're a Sunday school teacher, whether you are the preacher, assistant, or whatever it is that you do for the Lord. I'll try to give you some thoughts that will be a help to you. And so every Friday, 4 o'clock Eastern Time, we'll come with Ministry Moments. So today, I want to talk to you about preaching hard without being hard. I am known as a rough preacher. And but to know me is to love me. But I want to talk to you about preaching hard without being hard. It is possible to teach and to preach in such a way that you can help people, but yet deal with the subject matter you got to deal with. So let me just get started. Get your pen out. Jot this down. Here we go. Number one, think about the people before preaching. Think about the people before preaching or teaching. Think about them. You ought to have a good prayer list that you go over and pray for people, especially when they come to you and they give you some needs that they are maybe cares that they're worried about. So the more you think about them, the more compassion you'll have for them and trying to help them. So we're talking today about preaching hard without being hard, or teaching hard without being hard. So think about the people before preaching. This is where your prayer list comes into play, and it helps you get into their world and be a blessing to them. Number two, use a plus, negative, negative, plus format. Use a plus, negative, negative, plus format. Rebuke, exhort with all long-suffering. Reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long-suffering. The Bible pattern. So you start out where they are, and you say something positive. Then you deal with what you got to deal with. You've got to deal with something. All right, it's negative, then sandwich it in between two positives. So positive, a negative, a positive. Number three, leave them with hope. When they leave that Sunday school class, or they bus ride, or your counseling session, or with the youth, or with the bus, or senior citizens, whatever it might be, always leave them with hope. And there is hope, by the way. So you help them to focus on that so they don't leave with their chin dragging on the ground saying, I could never do this. No. The idea is to let them know it is possible. All things are possible. Through Christ, you can do what you've been called to do. It's the will of God. And whatever it might be, and whatever cares you have, whatever burdens you're carrying, you need to have someone to say to you, hey, you can do this. So when at the end of the sermon, they need to be at the altar saying, Lord, I help me to do this. I can do this. I can do this. Or after a Sunday school class, or whatever it might be, after a youth meeting, or senior saint meeting, whatever it might be. You leave them with hope. Counseling, I do that. When I get through counseling somebody, I don't want them leaving my presence without there being any hope. All right, so we're talking about preaching hard without being hard. I said, number one, think about the people before preaching or teaching. Think about them. Get to live where they live. Sit where they sit. Number two, use positive, negative, negative, positive. Sandwich the negative in between two positives. So when you do that, you start out positive, and you deal with what you got to deal with. You got to deal with it. Can't ignore it. Can't stick your head in the sand. You got to deal with it. But leave them with answers. It's said of Daniel, he was a dissolver of doubts. We're not to create doubt. We are to dissolve doubts. Then number three, leave them with hope. Number four, do not think of a congregation or a class or whatever it might be as adversarial. Don't do that. Satan is your enemy, not the deacons, not the contrary church member or the backslidden staff member, whatever it might be. No. Satan is your enemy. And the church across town is not your enemy. Satan is. And sometimes we get into inter-church battles and this camp, that camp, the other camp. And I believe in boundaries, and I believe in doing right. I believe in being very careful who you run with. But I'm just saying to you, when you teach or you preach or you lead in some area, then you always look at them as needing help. Don't look at them as adversarial. Number 5, 95% are for you, so feed them. Keep the orchard healthy. 95% of the people you're talking to are there because they want to be there, and they wouldn't be following you if they didn't want you to be their leader. So 95% of them are for you. So why waste your time on the 5% that are not? If you're not careful, you'll get sidetracked. You've got to keep the orchard healthy. That's the thing I liked about John Rice and Jack Hyles and Lee Robertson and Lester Roloff and Tom Malone and all those great men. Jack Hudson. Most people don't know about Jack Hudson in Charlotte, but he did great work there. Now, I'm just saying to you, somewhere in here, you better understand, these people are 95% of them are for you. They're for you. And you help them keep the orchard healthy. Now, John Rice said about Billy Graham. Billy Graham, had a lot of people saved. Yes, had a lot of people saved. But he killed the orchard. And whereas Brother Hyles and all these other great men, they kept the orchard healthy. So I say again, 95% of the people that are following you are there because they want to be there, so feed them. Number 6, be preventative more than curative. In your dealing with whatever you're dealing with, be more preventative than curative. Now sometimes the cows got out of the barn, horses got out of the corral, and you got to go get them and get them back in. But you need to be more preventative than curative. Now, you have to be curative sometimes. You have to deal with the subject sometimes, but it's best to keep the orchard healthy. Be preventative. Brother Hyles would often say, you may not need this sermon now, but get the tape. That shows how old we are. You don't have cassette tapes anymore, do they? But get this sermon, because you may not need it now, but you'll need it one day. You young people, you don't need it now, but you're going to get older and you're going to need it one day. And so a lot of his work with the great First Baptist Church of Hammond at the time was because it was preventative. All right, so I said number 1, think about the people before preaching or teaching. Number 2, use positive, negative, positive. Yes, you've got to deal with the negative, but start out positive, deal with it, and then end up positive. I said number 3, leave them with hope. Number 4, do not think of a congregation or class or whatever you're dealing with as adversarial. Number 5, 95% of the people that are there because they want to be there, and they're for you. So don't waste your time going after the 5% that are trying to kill you. It's a waste of time. Number 6, be preventative more than curative. Give them Bible principles to help them to stay on the road to the will of God, and help them with that. Now, sometimes curative, once you get cancer, it's a little late to be drinking orange juice and to be drinking carrot juice and to be eating pig's feet, whatever it is. It's better to be preventative. I take supplements every day, walk 2 miles a day. I used to do 8. You're not going to believe that, do you? I used to do 8 miles a day. Not anymore. Too old. But it's better to be preventative than curative. And then may I say quickly, finish with, you can do this. Finish whatever you're doing with this statement. You can do this. I wouldn't be preaching this to you if I didn't think you could do it. God wouldn't tell us to do it. He didn't think we could do it. So you always leave them saying, you can do this. You can do this. A couple comes in, have troubles and trials with their marriage and so on to get done. I give them practical helps from the Bible, precept upon precept, and I get done. I say, you can do this. You can do this. At the end of a sermon, I'm saying, I'm going to give an invitation now. I want you to come and tell God you're going to do your part, and you can do this. You can do this. So we're talking about preaching hard without being hard, maybe teaching hard without being hard. They say, you old guys, you just ruined young people. You soured them on the work of God. No, they soured themselves. The great churches were not experiments. They were standing on the shoulders of the great men before them. But now, all of a sudden, we're just throwing the new guard, throwing the old guard on the bus, but there'd be no bus to guard if it wasn't for the old guard. When you use the world to reach the world, you'll end up with the world and in the world. So someone's got to take a stand. Somebody's got to say this is wrong. Oh, his standards are too strict. Everybody has standards. If you go to public school tomorrow naked, they're gonna send you home or put you in jail or put you in an insane asylum. Now, somewhere in here, you have to understand, you've got to take a stand. You've got to do what's right. But you have to do it in such a biblical manner that you be able to, and again, I'm talking about the 95% who are for you. They're last night at the Bible study. Great crowd, great crowd. Dr. Tom Neal preached last night, taught last night, the Bible study. Oh, it was great. It was great. Old school? Yeah, we need the old fellers. Brother Howes used to tell us, bring in the old men of God, and that's what I did. And now I am the old man. But I hope this helped you. I'm talking about preaching hard without being hard. God bless you. YouTube, Ministry Moments, subscribe now. Go on and subscribe. Go to Solve Church Problems, subscribe. And you'll be glad you did. Every week, 4 o'clock Eastern Time now. God bless you.